everybody, in this video we're going to talk about factoring and just focusing on finding the greatest common factor of integers. So at the end of the video I want us to be able to define factoring, greatest common factor, and factor, and find the greatest common factor of integers. Remember, integers are just numbers. Okay, so let's talk about what factoring means. It is the reverse process of multiplying or breaking down a number or a polynomial. So in the past, remember when we have a number outside of parentheses, we distribute or expand it? Factoring is the opposite. So we're going to take something that's already expanded and put it back into its parentheses. So in order to understand what factoring really means, let's talk about what is a factor. Factors are numbers you multiply together to get another number. So 2 times 3 gives us 6, meaning that 2 and 3 are factors of 6. And then when you see GCF, it stands for greatest common factor, and it's just the largest factor shared between two or more numbers. So we'll talk about factor trees in a second, but 3 is the greatest common factor, or the biggest number that multiplies to 18 and 21. So let's look at an example. Sometimes it's hard to find the greatest common factor, especially of large numbers. So let's do some large numbers in our example. It's asking us to find the GCF of 120 and 45. So really, that just translates and says, hey, find the biggest number that multiplies into 120 and 45. So when we're doing this, we are first going to make a factor tree of each number. Now, a factor tree just means, hey, let's break it down into its multiples. So what multiplies to 120? You can do anything that multiplies to 120, and it will get you the same answer. I chose 10 and 12. Well, to get 10, I can do 5 times 2. I can't break down 5 or 2 anymore, so I know I'm done. Let's go over to 12. 12 I can break down into 3 and 4. If you did 6 and 2, great. You can do it that way too. 3 cannot be broken down. 4 can break up into 2 and 2. Now I move on to the next one. So 45, I did 5 times 9. 5 is done. 3 times 3 gives me 9, so I'm going to break that. 3 I can't break down into anything other than 1 and itself, so I know I'm all done. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to cross out anything I've broken up. So 120 was broken up, 12 was broken up, so anything I broke up into two different numbers, cross it out because we're not going to use those anymore. And lastly, we're going to find the common factors. So I'm looking at all these numbers here, and I'm going to find any similar numbers. So I know they both have a 3, and I also know they both have a 5, so I'm going to circle those together. When they have multiple numbers in common, I'm going to multiply them together. So 3 times 5 down here is going to give me 15, and that means the greatest common factor of 120 and 45 is 15. Sometimes you'll see this notation, they'll put like GCF, parenthesis, the two numbers you're finding the greatest common factor of. It just means the greatest common factor of those two numbers. Really, all we care about is 15. So that is your overview of finding the greatest common factor of just regular numbers.